Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. I am Joanna, Business Development Manager from Taiwan, and we have, thanks for joining us for these 2 hours. We would like to share a lot with you, and this is to support our teachers, just like what our video said. We begin, I would like to just go over some logistics. Just like a lot of the webinars probably you have joined, all the attendants were muted for better experience for everybody in terms of audio. But we are going to have interaction. We try to make it interactive. So our speakers might ask you to put in your information, your thoughts in the chat box. So there is a chat box. And please choose all panelists and attendees. For example, just to try, maybe you can tell us where you're from. I'm here saying hi from Taipei. And you can tell us where you're joining us from. And again, please make sure that you choose all panelists and attendees so that everybody can see your thoughts. If you have any questions about the webinar, please put it in the other option, Q&A, question and answer, so that we can consolidate all the questions there, and we'll try to go over them at the end. In case you have any problem with the audio, you can click this icon, join audio, then it should solve the problem. Most people will also ask us constantly about certificates. So when you leave this webinar at the end, click leave, and it should direct you to this screen. And when you click continue, it will direct you to a survey. So please fill out the survey. Partly, of course, we always appreciate all of your feedback and thoughts and ideas. But also that's where you can fill in your information and tell us that you would like us to send you an e-certificate. Please make sure that you put the name that you want to be on the certificate and also the email that you want to receive it, so that we'll be able to send it to the right place with the right information. And for the PDFs of the PPT, we will also kind of like make sure everything we can send, then we'll be sending through Line. If you're in Taiwan and you have our Line group, then we will put out the link there for you to download. Please also, you can contact our staff members. I think you probably got the invitation from one of our staff members. So just contact us and we'll also send you the PDFs of the PPT. So we are Cambridge Assessment English. That we are part of the University of Cambridge. And we support the achievement of university's mission to contribute through the pursuit of education, learning, and research at the highest international levels of excellence. So a lot of people don't understand who we are. So just a quick information is we, again, University of Cambridge, we're Cambridge Assessment, and under Cambridge Assessment with different units, we are Cambridge Assessment English, particularly all assessment about English. Today, we also have our colleagues. Our second speaker is from Cambridge University Press. We always work closely together and we'll work even closer to support all of our teachers, learners, parents as one Cambridge. So our mission is to help people learn English, and when they have their skills, to prove their skills to the world. Every learner, every step of the way. I'm always look forward to the future. So this is a picture that I like of talking about looking to the future of your students or your children, going step by step and how to plan their learning journey so that they will have a better future. And the benefits of learning step by step, which is how our qualification is designed, is it provides learners with regular milestones, motivating them to continue progressing from one level to the next. And most important, it builds on the skills developed at the previous level. So it builds on and on, going deeper and broader. And that way it helps learners to feel more confident, which is what's important to us, and inspired to continue. And it's proven through our survey. We did a global survey, and for our 25% of them said that our qualifications improve students' English. And 86% did say that it helped build their students' confidence. And learning assessment is important to us. We always think that it goes hand in hand. So talking about learning, you know, these years, a big thing about learning is competencies. We have to attain competencies. So we need to help our students to do so. Competencies is quite big of a concept, but most people know about the 4 C's, right? Collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creative thinking. And this has been talked about quite a bit in the past decade, especially also in Taiwan lately. But actually, we already have all of these aspects in our assessment and our learning program for many, many years, because we are about effective communication. So these aspects are all important in order to have such communication and being effective English speakers. And our assessment is almost the only one that we can say has a collaboration aspect in it too, which you saw in one of, if you came in early, then you might have seen it in one of the videos. And our CUP team has put it all together, consolidated into the Cambridge framework for life competencies. If you're interested in knowing more, then you can find that on Google, and just go to the website. And my colleague Iris and Phyllis will talk more about it just in a little bit. So what we do, mainly what most people know is Cambridge English Qualifications, CEQ. We also have qualifications for teacher, and we have another test called LinguaSkill, which is online and adaptive. And OET is for medical professionals, which is very, very interesting. And most of you probably know IELTS. We are the test designers. So our CEQs, you all know that is very aligned to CFR. Every level we have a tests, and is closely aligned because we are one of the partners to develop CFR. So every question can actually be mapped back to one of the can-do statements. And CEQ, I mean, actually, CEFR has been used in many, many countries nowadays as an international benchmark. And I think around us, all the countries, then this is kind of like the goal that at primary school level graduate, they should be at A1 movers at least. For junior high graduate, A2 key, and senior high graduate, B1 preliminary. I think most of the non-English speaking countries have this type of mapping. So the goal for most learners will be to at least reach B1 or B2. At B2, you'll be able to work in an international environment, so in international companies, and is also accepted by some of the universities already in English-speaking countries at B2. But for the top schools, then most of them require C1 level. And I just want to quickly go over some free resources online. If you go to our website, cambridgeenglish.org, you'll find tons of free resource. So for example, like this, you can choose which skills you want to practice with the students, which level, how many minutes. Many teachers, parents also ask us, so which level should my student take? So you can also go to our website and find Test Your English, or simply Google Test Your English Cambridge. Then you can have your students try out one of the levels that they, whether it's for schools or young learners, so that you have a better idea of which level. And I highly recommend this. Is an app that you can download from whether Android or Apple. That Exam Lift is an app to practice the skills, and it's really fun. My own daughter actually really liked to use that, and she'll ask, "Can I play now? Can I play now?" So if they have to have their hands on these device, then why not play with something useful, right? It has A2 key and also B1 preliminary. Going to another level, Quiz Your English, you will actually be able to have a kind of a little competition with someone from another part of the world. So this will be even a little bit more intense. And Write and Improve is a great resource to practice writing. I think Iris will talk more in a little bit about that too. but this is great to just input your, choose one of the tasks and input your writing, and it would tell you the level that you're at and give you some feedback of what you can improve. Penfriends is at the school level, where you need to map school with another school in another country. So probably you choose the right level that can map with other schools, what they put in their level too, and you can exchange cards and writing, so your students can see the writing of students from other countries. So this will make it fun. And this is another great resource for teachers. It's called Weekly. So you can Google Weekly plus Cambridge English, then you'll find that it gives you free lesson plans for exam prep. You just choose the exam, for example, whether it's A2 or B1, and how many weeks you teach, how many hours you teach each week. It will give you free lesson plans. And if today's webinar is not enough, then there are tons of webinars and useful videos on our YouTube English, Cambridge English YouTube channel. You can find many things there. But now let's go back to our webinar today, and I'm going to give the control back to Iris. And Iris, if you can start your camera and share screen. Iris is our Cambridge Assessment English assessment manager, and she's going to share with us about live competencies in A2 and B1. Take it away, Iris.
Thank you, Jo. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking your time during the working day to join us today. So in my session, I'm going to focus on life competencies and how our exam can demonstrate and help develop life competencies for our students. Can you just bear with me for a moment? I'm going to present my screen. And after I present my screen, please feel free to let me know whether you can see my screen or not. I'm going to present it. Okay, share. I see a lot of greetings from the chairs. So it's so great to see you interact with each other. So let's keep that going. And can you see my screen now, my first page? Just let me know that I will carry on. Oh, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Zoe. Okay, so let's get started. So today in my session, we'll cover basically 3 parts, as you can see on the screen. Okay, thank you, Bragg and Rudy. Thank you, and Magic English. Okay, maybe this is an ad I can do for you. Okay, and so what are life competencies? If you have joined our webinar in June, talking about life competencies and Cambridge Young Learner exams, then let's revisit it again in case we have some newcomers today. So if you have heard of 21st century skills, critical thinking, creative thinking, growth mindset, or social emotional learning, and all of those concepts share a lot in common, and it shows one of the most important educational trend we have now, which is to develop a key essential skills that should not only prepare students for school, but also for their better life in the future, to be not only excellent at their academic performance, but also to be a happy and healthy and also successful person in their life. So that's why life competencies are very important. But we have so many concepts in the field, and it can be confusing for our teachers and parents to understand them and also implement them into our classroom. So that's why in Cambridge we developed this framework to organize those ideas and categorize them so that you will get a better understanding of it. Because in this framework, there are a few characteristics. The first one is that we use can-do statements to demonstrate the competencies that we expect students to develop at each stage. And the second characteristic is that we also develop the can-do statements from pre-primary to secondary to university, and also in the end to work. So we categorize the can-do statements based on the students' different age and the stages they are at. So our teachers at different stages can focus on their priority, because life competencies can be a big umbrella, and we have limited time in classroom and in our teaching, so we need to prioritize. So during my webinar, you can also think about which competencies do you think are the most important for your students, and how you like to prioritize them in your classroom. And as we said just now, there are 6 main competencies in this Cambridge framework. And to help you maybe remember the 6 competencies better, I used an acronym, which is 4C plus LS. If you know about Cambridge exams, we launched a new exam called Lingual Skill from last year. And so you can think of LS in that way. And what do they mean? So the 4C stand for communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creative thinking. And LS stands for learning to learn, so learning strategies. And S means social responsibilities and emotional development. So we are going to delve into detail later for each competency. And as you can see, we have those competencies broken down into details from primary to pre-primary to work field. Okay, so just now we had a brief overview of life competencies, because the other part of our session today is about Cambridge English exams. So I like to just prioritize one concept that is very important for us to understand our exams and how our exams are developed. So in the future, if you look at any exam that we develop, you understand the underlying principle that we have. And so, in terms of language learning, I guess most of you teach in different regions, you teach language, you have a lot of experience with students and language teaching. So language, why do we learn language? Why do students learn language? It's not only a subject in school, as I think most of you would agree. It's a skill that we need to master in life to use. So I always think the driving metaphor is a good way to understand what kind of English we need to study and learn. When we learn to drive, first we will maybe understand the mechanics of driving, and some people don't need to, and maybe some driving rules, but have a mastering the mechanics of driving and understanding the driving rules doesn't guarantee that we are able to be a good driver and be able to drive on the road. So that's why in language learning, mainly mastering the linguistic knowledge and also the grammar doesn't guarantee that our students and our language learners can use language in the real life. So that's why in every Cambridge English exam, all the tasks we design focus on one thing, is that how we can help our students demonstrate their real communication skills in the exams, and so that we can make sure when they prepare for the exams, what they have learned and studied are practical, are the things that they are able to use in the future. So that kind of concept and design principle, in Cambridge, we call it learning-oriented assessment. And by doing this learning-oriented assessment, we hope when bearing this learning-oriented assessment concept in mind, when we develop tests, we always think about whether our tests are valid enough to represent authentic user language, and also whether we can make a positive impact into our classroom and our teachers' teaching and the students' learning. So we need to always bear in mind, language knowledge is different from language use. And how can we make sure that all our exams focus on communication skills, the real-life English skills? One important foundation that we use is CEFR. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the CEFR. It's one of the most popular and widely adopted language benchmark internationally to guide language learning and test development. One of the important features of this CEFR is that it also uses can-do statements. So that's why I like to talk about this here, because CEFR shares some shares some features in common with Cambridge framework of life competencies, as they both focus on real can-do statements. And as you can see here, I give you some examples of how the language abilities can vary from beginner to like a relatively proficient speakers at B2 level. Just like as what Joe said just now, if students can reach B2, then they are able to study and work in native speaking countries quite naturally and friendly. And so today, because we talk not only about the language, we just mentioned that our exams can help students build real language skills. But when we design the exams, we also want to go beyond the language. And also we want to go beyond the classroom, because we want to make sure that what students can learn in the class can be really relatable to what they do in the future in real life. So that's why one quote that I really like here is that school is not a path, it's the path, not the point. You know, a lot of people actually have this mindset that once they graduate from school, they don't need to study anymore. But life is a learning journey itself. That's why we advocate lifelong learning now, right? And the growth mindset. And I like to use this quote by Andrew, the director of OECD for education and skills, that education is not only about teaching students something alone, especially in this uncertain world with a lot of with a faster and unexpected technology development and other changes. We need to prepare students to develop a reliable compass and the navigation tools to find their own way in the world that is increasingly complex, volatile, and uncertain. So I think this is a good metaphor, a reliable compass and navigation tools. And this is a good metaphor for describing life competencies, and that's what we need to do in our education now. And just for your information, that OECD is the organization that initiated 21st century skills late last century, and also it's the organization that launched PISA tests in 2000. So it has a very huge influence around the world, providing guide for countries to reflect and reflect on their education system. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the detail of our life competencies. So as we said just now, communication is the first skill in this framework. And I think that wouldn't be, and I think that is important because communication is actually the foundation for every single life competency. And although we feel like we understand what communication means, but I like to give you a definition here, because communication now means something more than just a few people talking with each other, especially with globalization, where people are need to communicate cross-culturally and cross-nation, and we bring each of us brings with us different world knowledge, values, cultural understanding when we communicate, and it is important that communication skills are developed in our school. So here the definition is communication is an active process influenced by the complexities of human behavior, in which elements such as nonverbal behavior and individual styles of interpreting and adding meaning to events have significant influence. And another thing I like to highlight is that communication is a skill that we can develop. So a lot of people may say that, oh, I'm not good at communicating, I'm not good at public speaking, but it's something that we can develop. And so there's room for us to develop. Another competency in the framework is collaboration. I put communication and collaboration together because they are interconnected with each other. And what does collaboration mean? It means that when our students communicate, they are not just simply exchanging information. They are supporting each other in collective thinking. And I think this is a very good insight that every teacher needs to understand, and also every learner needs to understand. So it's a mindset that we need to remember that by doing collaboration, usually we can achieve something bigger than us and something beyond one person's ability. So collaborative interaction allows students and learners to achieve more than they can alone. As we always say that teamwork makes dream work, right? Okay. And as I said just now, that although we put those competencies into different category, but it's always important to remember that those competencies are closely interconnected with each other. So there isn't a clear cut, and usually when we design a task in the classroom, we develop more than one competency. So that's one thing that we need to remember. So how do communication and collaboration skills look like at primary and secondary stage, which are usually the students of A2 level students are at. So at the primary stage, some kind of statements are like this, shown on the screen. So the learners can share their thoughts to help with each other, to support to help further develop ideas and solve problems. And they are able to describe things in simple way and tell a story. And also they will be able to ask for permission, apologies, agrees and disagrees. Another thing I like to point out is that they are also be able to take turns in the conversation. Now, no matter if you know about coaching or some other conversation skills training course, and there is always a topic called active listening. A lot of people think they are good listener nowadays, but when we are engaged in a conversation, sometimes what we do unconsciously is that we seem to listen to the other person, but actually we are thinking about what we are gonna say afterwards, next. So that's why it's important to give room for other people in the conversation so that collaboration can be achieved. And so when we get to secondary stage, we would require students to demonstrate more advanced collaboration and communication skills, such as adapting language according to who they are speaking to. And so they need to know the nuance between different languages, maybe sometimes also can express nuanced feelings in the language based on who they are talking to and the context that they are in. Also, at this stage, they will be able to provide justification for their ideas and suggestions. So they do not only express the ideas, they are able to explain the why behind it. And that can demonstrate critical thinking skills, as you can see. So just now we talked about communication and collaboration skills, and how are they presented in our exams? So before I talk about how they are presented in our exams, I'd like to just briefly introduce a little bit more about our exams, because this is a question that I got very often from teachers and parents. So what are the main differences between Cambridge Young Learner exams and the main suite English exams? As you can see here, to give a specific example, that at A2 level in Cambridge, we have two exams. The first one is A2 Flyers, which belongs to Young Learner exams, and the other is A2 Key for School, or A2 Key, which belongs to Main Suite portfolio. So what are the main differences? I'd like to ask you, and I'm going to launch a poll, so you can maybe have a think about this question yourself, and also vote in the poll so we can get to know your understanding a little bit better. Can you see the poll now? So I will give you 2 minutes to think about it, and I'm going to share the results later. So which of the following options are the differences between Cambridge Young Learner exams and Cambridge Main Suite exams? Is it target candidates? Is it purpose of the exam? Is it the language support given the exam, language difficulty, or cognitive requirements? Wow, we have like people joining from Iran. Well, thanks for joining us. Not sure what's the time zone you are in now, but so we can connect in this way. So I think each option gets relatively equal voting here, and I have to say that actually those are all the differences we have between Cambridge Young Learner exams and the main suite exams. Why? So in terms of the target candidates, you can tell from the exam name, the young learners are targeted at young learners, right? And so that's why, based on this, the purpose of the exam is different. So young learner exams, for young learner exams, usually those are the exams that language learners first have in their life. So our exams could be the first exam experience they have in their life. And we like to give them a good exam experience. So one of the main purposes of this exam is to give them motivation to learn English. So that's why, based on this, the exams are more colorful, as you can see in Young Learner. And but by comparison, there won't be any color in main suite exams. And I can give you some demonstration later. And also in language support and the language difficulty, and also in terms of cognitive requirement, we have more standards for main suite exams as well. So first, in terms of the length of the exam, A2 key could be longer as well. And in terms of the design, because they target at different candidates. So as you can see at the left side, on the left side of the screen, usually young learner exams could be more colorful and also with more picture support as well. So at this stage, we expect candidates can understand simple conversation based with the support of pictures. But when we get to A2 key, as you can see, there won't be any picture support, and language could be a little bit more challenging in terms of listening as well, and also reading. And another example is the writing. In writing and also speaking, we expect candidates to produce more at A2 key. As you can see here, in A2 flyers, there is only one writing task. And and as you can see now, usually there are three colorful pictures, which tells us a simple story. And the stories could be quite fun. And here is about how an astronaut flew into space and made friends with an alien. But when we get to A2 key, as you can see, there are two writing tasks. The first one is always email or letter, and the second is describing pictures. And the pictures could be a little bit more complicated here as well. And we expect candidates to write more words in the writing. So we are going to have a look at the writing task at A2 key a little bit more to see how those writing tasks can demonstrate life competencies. You know, when we talk about communication and collaboration, the first skill we usually think about is speaking. But here, so that's why I like to introduce writing here, because writing is also an important way to communicate and correspond. So on the left side is part 6 in A2 key. As you can see, it's about writing an email to a friend about a shopping appointment they make. And what kind of competencies they demonstrate here are the candidates need to be able to adapt languages according to who they are speaking to. In here is a friend, and also they will be able to write a simple communication message to achieve this communication goal. And even in the preparation tip from our handbook for teachers, as you can see here, what the expectation for the task is that candidates need to demonstrate that they are clear about who they are writing to, why they are writing, and what they need to include in the reply. So it's not only about responding to the bullet points included in the task, it's about how the candidates could write a complete piece of message to achieve this goal, communication goal. So if we get to the second writing task, this writing task of writing a short story can demonstrate the competency of telling a story or describing things in a simple way. You know, in everyday life, we always describe things, no matter it's about our past, our background, our future, our plan, or our current life. So being able to describe is an important skill that a lot of people ignore or neglect. And another thing that another life competency skill that the candidates can demonstrate here is that they will be able to use alternative words or expressions if they are not understood. So, you know, if the students find that they want to write a word but they don't have this word in their knowledge, so they will be expected to find different ways to explain it, what we call paraphrase in English, right? In teaching. So paraphrasing is an important skill in language, in communication, especially in cross-cultural communication, when the other person may not have the knowledge that the speaker has. Okay, so when we get to even more advanced in B1 preliminary, B1 level task, as you can see here, the task could be even more authentic because the candidates needs to reply to an email. So they are given in an email and they need to reply the email based on write a reply based on the email, which is a common task we do, you know, in everyday life. And for some students, sometimes it could be like a phone message as well. And another thing I like to point out is how our marking assessment scale actually help demonstrate life competencies. As you can see here at B1 level, there are 4 categories in our marking scale: content, communication, communicative achievement, organization, and language. And so in content, as you can see, that the target reader should be fully informed if the candidate wants to get a full mark of 5. And also at communicative achievement category, as you can see, the candidate needs to use some conventions of writing emails, for example, such as how to start email, how to end the email, how to engage in this email and make suggestions to hold the reader's attention and communicate the ideas to achieve this task. So some of you might be curious. So how do communication skills vary between A2 and the B1 level? So we will use one task to demonstrate this. And there is a task of writing an email to a college friend that you haven't met for a while. So this is from A2 key, not a school version. And the candidate needs to suggest ways to celebrate the party and also suggest how to celebrate the party. At A2 level, I'm showing you an A2 level script. And by comparison, I'm also giving you another script at B1 level. So let's have a look at the scripts at the two levels. At A2 level, as you can see here, the candidates can achieve the task by covering all the 3 points we require them to respond to. So he did suggest the way to celebrate, which is going to the cinema, and also he did suggest when to celebrate, and also he offered to prepare with this friend. But if you have a look at the B1 level script, I can read it for you. Then you can, in case that you are joining the webinar from phone and you are not able to read it clearly, then you can have a better understanding of how this B1 level script different from A2. So in this B1 level script, the candidate wrote, "Oh, it's such a pleasure to hear from you. I can't believe how time flies. 5 years since the last time we partied together. We should definitely celebrate our anniversary with all the old friends. Why don't you all come over to Italy and spend a week in my town? We should organize it this summer so that we would be more free from work and enjoy the beach. If you want, I can contact all the other college mates on Facebook and create an event page there. Does it sound okay for you? As you can probably tell that in this B1 level script, the candidates express more nuanced feelings. His excitement in or writing to this friend. And imagine that we are approaching a friend, a college friend that we haven't met for 5 years. Would you say that, oh, I hope this email finds you well? Or you would say that, oh, it's such a pleasure to hear from you. So when we get to higher level at the language, we also expect students to be able to express nuanced feelings with the language as well. After all, language is only a tool. Being able to convey the message with the right emotion and feelings is more important. And also in this script, the candidates use some functional language to make suggestions. And also he used like different skills to kind of to make this writing more coherent as well. So it does look like a reply to an email in real life, not just like a task that he achieved in an exam. And that's what we expect the candidates to do in our tests. So just now we talk about writing. What about the speaking? And this task you are looking at is a collaboration task that we have in all our main suite exams. So this one is from A to T. So the topics could be quite familiar to the students. It could be hobbies, life, school life, shopping, or trip, traveling, holidays. And so the two students need to talk with each other about the different options given in the picture. For example, in here, do you like these hobbies? Why or why not? So that's one thing that we think what we want to focus and what we are proud of in our exam, that we really value interaction in our communication task. And even in our assessment, sorry that I'm quoting a B1 level marking scale, but in A2 it's the same category, but maybe with different detailed requirement. We always, in our marking scale for speaking, we always have one category called interactive communication, as you can see here. And we expect the candidates to be able to initiate and respond appropriately. They don't just dominate the conversation. So some teachers may have a question that, oh, what if the other candidates dominates the conversation and my students isn't given enough time to demonstrate the skills? If one candidate dominates the communication, then the marker will think about this as well, because dominating the conversation may not be a good way to be a good communicator in the test either. Okay, so but you know, just now this task that I introduced here is a revised task we included in our A2Key 2020 version. And by doing this, we actually took out an older speaking task. And by comparing the differences between the two tasks, maybe you can have a better idea of how we try to encourage interaction in our speaking task. And this is the task that we had before the revised exams. And I'd like to invite my colleague Darren to demonstrate this task with us, so you can have a better understanding of it. So Darren, are you ready there?
Hello.
Hello. So what we are gonna do in this task, that we are two candidates. Maybe I'll find another candidate. Joe, would you like to be the other candidate?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Joe, you are candidate A, and Darren, you are candidate B. Candidate A, you are given this card. You can't see candidate B's card. And Darren, you are given the card of candidate B, and you have all the information to the question that candidate A will have. So can you do the conversation based on the card, the information that is given in the task? So you have 2 minutes now.
Hi,
Okay.
can you give me the address of your bookstore?
Yes, my bookstore is at 212 Main Street.
Is it a big bookstore or a small one?
It is the largest bookshop. It's big.
Is it closed on Sundays?
No, it is open on Sunday.
Do you sell travel books?
Travel books. Yes, we do sell travel books.
What is your telephone number?
My telephone number is 724-399.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. I
Thank
hope our
you.
participants. Oh, thank you, Joe and Darren. I hope you
Welcome.
didn't fall asleep in the exam, and I hope our attendees in the webinar didn't fall asleep. You guys feel sounds a little bit bored, but as you can tell that this task gives quite limited room for the candidates to express their own ideas. So that's why we took out this task in our new revised exams, and include this collaboration task for students, which is more personal to them and also gives them more room to express their own ideas and their own preferences. Okay, so that's how we even iterate our exams to encourage more communication and collaboration skills in our exams. Okay, so just now we covered communication, collaboration. The third C is critical thinking. So a lot of teachers may have the questions that critical thinking skills, are they teachable and are they easy to teach? The first thing is that a lot of people may have a wrong understanding of the critical thinking skills because the word critical, and some people may think, oh, so having critical thinking skills means we need to be critical. Sometimes it could be, but it doesn't apply all the time. And critical thinking is definitely not only about making judgments about what is wrong and what is right. And I like to offer you a definition here, so maybe we can have a better understanding of critical thinking skills. So what definition Cambridge offers is that critical thinking refers to higher levels of thinking that learners need to enable them to think effectively and rationally. So those are the keywords that we need to remember about what they want to do and also what they believe is the best action. So critical thinking skills may involve identifying links between ideas, analyzing different perspectives, and evaluating arguments and options to reach a sensible conclusion. So as we can see here, what's important about the critical thinking skills is that we are able to evaluate different ideas, being able to distinguish ideas and from facts, maybe and opinions, and to make the best conclusion and the action for our life. So that's why it's probably one of the most important skills we need to have in life. What do they look like in primary and secondary school? So at a primary stage, we expect them to compare different type of information, so they are able to distinguish between different objects of similar categories, and also they are able to explain why they do things and why they make a conclusion and take some actions, and being able to predict and estimate what is going to happen based on given information. So those are the skills we expect them to develop. And at secondary school, and we got more higher requirements, such as they will be able to distinguish between facts and opinions, which a lot of adults find it hard to do as well, right? And they will be able to identify problems in a proposed plan. They don't just agree with other people, they can make their own conclusion and find their own argument and stance based on the information given. And also the last one, they will be able to assess strengths and weaknesses of possible solutions in order to choose the best one in their context. Critical thinking skills are very important, as now, social media offers a lot of information, and we are overwhelmed with information, no matter they are true or not. And usually people see information and see things with their lenses, and so that's why it's important to develop them. And in here, I'd like to introduce this Bloom's taxonomy to see how critical thinking skills are more like advanced in this learning pyramids. So in our education, a large quantity of time has been devoted to teaching knowledge and asking students to remember the specific knowledge, as you can see, which is the bottom level of this pyramid. But what we expect the students to do in the future, and what skills they will use more during the time, is that they will be able to not only express their opinion, but also talk about why. And also they will be able to elaborate their opinions, and also to keep this conversation going. And how do critical thinking skills demonstrate in our tasks? I'm not here giving you a task that we have in B1 preliminary speaking test. It's also a collaboration discussion, as you can see, and the topic is a school trip to the capital city. So imagine that your students are going to visit Taipei, or maybe you are in Taipei or the capital city in your country, and but they are not familiar with the city, so they need to decide which activities and the places they like to do and which places they like to visit. So the two candidates need to talk together and then reach a conclusion in the end. So that does not only demonstrate collaboration, but by evaluating different options and explaining why, they are demonstrating critical thinking skills. So we encourage our candidates to elaborate their ideas and also invite different viewpoints, which is the other candidate's opinion in the task. Another example I'm showing you here is the writing part in B1 preliminary. So usually in the writing task, you can choose one from two questions. One task could be an article on a topic, and the other one is writing a story. So for the article task, usually it's about one topic, and we expect the candidates to express their ideas and understanding of this topic. And as you can see here, the topic is films, and the questions in the task are: what kind of films do you enjoy? Do you prefer watching them at the cinema or at home? And also, and why? And on the right side of the screen, as you can see, here is a candidate's answer. And this candidate got 5 marks in terms of content, and also 4 marks in terms of communicative achievement. And I'm going to read this for you in case you can't see the words clearly here, the text clearly here. So films, that's the topic. There are many types of films. Most adults like to watch romance films, and most children like to watch cartoons. But for me, I'd like to watch romance and musical films. I prefer watching them at the cinema because of the sound effects, and the screens are so much bigger than a house one. Sometimes the film even looks so real. When you are going to an outing with your friends, you can buy the food and drinks there, but I don't like to eat the popcorn there. However, when my parents don't want to go to the cinema, I have no choice but to watch it at home. As you can see, what the candidate did in the writing is that he did not only express his own idea, his own preferences of which films he enjoyed, but also he compares what adults prefer and what the children usually prefer. And also he compares what's the difference between watching film at the cinema and watching it at home. So by doing this, these candidates demonstrated his critical thinking skills by evaluating different ideas, and also he gave quite sufficient explanation behind those ideas. Okay, so just now we talk about speaking and writing part. Can we also develop critical thinking in our reading task or in our reading activities? Of course, the answer is yes. So what is one way that our reading task demonstrates critical thinking skills? Do you still remember that at a primary stage, that the candidates can be able to distinguish the differences between different objects? And here, as you can see in this reading task, which is reading task which a few people are given, and the candidate needs to choose which person meets the statement, the question statement in the question statement. For example, for question 7, whose class learned most the garden competition from a TV program? And question 8, whose class grew some vegetables? So what candidates needs to do is to read the text, the alternative text, and to find specific information to help them make a decision to match the people to the options, to the statements, and that requires them to demonstrate critical thinking skills. So comparing different types of information. Okay, and so how are our tasks aligned across levels? Just now we looked at that reading task in A2 key. So how does it look like at a B1? As you can see here, we have we have a comparison, and in B1 the options there are more options, and also there will be more distractors and options in the statements as well. And as you can see, the text length and the language difficulty is getting higher as well. So just now we talk about critical thinking skills across from primary school to secondary. How does it look like for university students? The reason why I spend a bit more time in critical thinking is that it is very important for our students, right? And based on our survey last time, that is the most one of the top life competency that most teachers are interested in. So at university levels, the students are expected to examine different possible solutions to a given problem. So how to apply critical thinking to solve problems is very important at this stage. And also they are able to assess the strengths and weaknesses of possible solutions. As you can see here in this B2 first writing part, usually the topics, the candidates needs to write an argumentative writing article as well. And the topics could be more abstract compared to the topics they have at A2 level. It could be about fashion, it could be about pollution, it could be about climate. And as you can see in the requirements of the task, we invite the candidates to include their own ideas, which also encourage not only critical thinking skills, but also creative thinking skills. So the candidate needs to address the question fully and explain where the arguments come from to demonstrate their critical thinking skills. And even for in the speaking task, we have at an advanced level, C1 level, the topic could be more challenging, as you can see here. The student need to evaluate different factors to express their arguments. This topic is what might people have to consider when making these decisions. You know, when I was asked about this question, I need to think about it carefully because it's very important and also it's quite abstract. Okay, I'm going to skip this work part, but later, if you're interested, we can share the PDF version of this slide for you so you can have a look in detail further. So by introducing tasks across levels, one thing that I like to point out is that in our task design, there are overlaps between tasks at different levels, but at the same time we expect the candidates to demonstrate more language ability and also cognitive ability at higher level. The next skill we like to focus on is the learning to learn, so learning strategies. And there are mainly three parts that make up this learning to learn type competency. The first one is practical skills for learners to monitor the learning, such as making notes, storing and retrieving information, no matter with their notebooks or with any apps they have on the phone. And also the second point is that they are able to take control of their learning by setting their learning goals and also develop some self-regulatory strategies to achieve those goals. And the third part is that reflection is very important to help them learn better. So that is what we call metacognitive skill. Being able to reflect on their learning strategy is also very important. Okay, so how do learning to learn life competency represent in primary and secondary school? We didn't make a distinction between the two stages because a lot of learning strategies are transferable across stages, and they are important to help them be better in their academic performance. Some examples are listed here, including identify useful resources for the learning, no matter by getting online or searching in library. And also they are able to, it will be helpful for them to be able to choose ways to practice English outside the classroom. So first they need to change the mindset that they can only learn language in the class. And the second, that they need to think outside the box, outside the classroom, to think about what are the ways that they can really use English and practice English outside the classroom, such as watching TV films or finding a pen pal or reading some authentic materials in their everyday life. So I have some students before who put English names of the objects in their room so that they can surround themselves with the English environment in that way. And some people will try to go to maybe English Corner or like to find a language exchange website to practice the English, and those all can demonstrate their language learning strategies. And another one is that they can use some tools such as mind map to organize their learning. I'm not going through those in detail, but I like to show you some examples. Sorry for the Mandarin here, because this is from a this is from an English teacher in China. When she was teaching the A2P for school exams, and when she gave the students the homework of writing, she would include a small self-reflection part at the end of the writing task, asking the students to tick the checklist. And the checklist could include options such as whether you have followed the format to complete the writing, whether you have answered all the 3 questions, which is a very important requirement in our marking scale, and whether you use different tenses to describe different, when you describe different stories. And if your students are even at higher level, you can even make it expanded into a more detailed reflection chart. And you can also encourage your students to give peer review. You give them this scaffolding, then they are able to use this scaffolding too to kind of critique each other's writing. This is also an important way to help them develop the learning strategies. So instead of just taking the work by yourself, doing all the hard work of marking all the homework, which takes a lot of time, how about delegating the work to the students, ask them to do self-reflection or peer review. Another tool that Cambridge can offer you is Write and Improve and Speak and Improve. Those are the 2 websites that we use to help our students to improve their speaking and reading, speaking and writing skills. To take a Write and Improve, for example, there are a lot of tasks taken, like sample tasks, at A2 and B1 level here, and there's even a section for IELTS writing task practice as well. So once the student chooses a task, they can write the task the answer in the space given in the website, and then once they click check, then this website will give them some diagnostic feedback, as you can see on the right side of the screen, and the different icons here, no matter it's a triangle or round circle, no matter it's a red or blue, they have different meanings to remind students to refine their tasks. As you can see here, the different icons represents different reminder. It could be the student using an incorrect word in the writing, or they use incorrect collocation, or they forget something in the sentence, which is important. And by checking the task again and again, like by refining the task and checking the task again and again, they can see a progress chart in the website to show their progress, which is encouraging for the students. And as a teacher, there is a teacher's panel for you, where you can give your own homework writing task, and also you can monitor all the students writing for those who joined your workbook. Okay, so the next one is social responsibility and emotional development. This is very important for our students to be not only a successful person in life, but also a happy person in life. You know, we did a survey before to ask teachers what are their goals for the students. So they do not only care about their students' academic performance, they would like the students to become whole person and happy person in their life as well. And what do those two terms mean? So social responsibilities refers to the rights and duties we have being a citizen of the society, of the community, and even in the globe. As now, you know, in this global village, everybody is interconnected, especially in this special time. We are facing the same situation. A lot of people feel like we are distant from each other physically, but a lot more people are more connected with the technology as well. And the emotional competence refers to the ability of applying the knowledge we have about emotions and feelings, but also to deal with emotional situations and to kind of regulate their emotions to be happier in life when they meet with the difficulties and challenges. So, social responsibilities there are lots of different ways that students can demonstrate social responsibilities at a primary and secondary stage. For example, at a primary stage, they will be able to at least know and use the words to feel belong to certain groups. You know, they belong to family, they belong to certain friend circle, they belong to some societies of hobbies, and also some sports team. So once they know that they have a sense of belonging in these communities, then they will start developing their social responsibility skills in the different communities. For we all have different facets in life. We have different roles. You could be teacher. You could also be parents. You could also be kids. And we have different responsibilities when we wear different hats, right? So that's very important for our students to be aware of as well. And when we get to secondary stage, they will be able to even go beyond their own community to understand how their behavior can contribute positively and negatively into maybe into the issues identified globally or in the nation or country. And so that's based on that foundation, they will be able to think about what can they do, what actions can they take to make their world a little bit better. And usually, based on psychology, being able to contribute something bigger than ourselves and being able to connect with something bigger than ourselves is one key element that makes people happy in the long term and fulfilling as well. Okay, so how do our tasks demonstrate social responsibilities? You know, topics introducing the appropriate topics for the candidates is very important. So we try to include some topics involving social responsibilities to make them aware they are not only for themselves. They learn language can help. They can learn language to help other people as well, and to make positive impact in the city. For example, in here, in this task, the candidates need to talk with each other to help a young man with ideas to relax at the weekend. So it's about helping the other person to be better in their life as well, right? But because it's at B1 level, so the requirement, the topic is quite familiar to the students. And it could be a little bit more abstract, as you can see here. The candidate needs to choose one of the pictures to describe, is it important to help people in this situation? Why or why not? So as you can see, this is also about helping others, and also by asking the question in this way, actually we are asking students to demonstrate their critical thinking skills as well by evaluating different situations and explain why. So here I listed 2 life competencies about social responsibility. Learners will be able to understand how their own behavior can contribute positively or negatively. And also they are able to understand the rights and responsibilities of individuals in society at the local and international levels. Even when we get to IELTS exam, IELTS is our most recognized exam internationally. We also have topics including helping others. And this is only one example. In the other topics could be about the traffic jam, solving the problem of traffic jam in the city, or helping a city to make a tourism plan to attract more people and tourists in the city to boost the economy. So there are many topics we try to include in our exams to make our students be aware of social responsibilities. So what are some classroom ideas we can employ to develop life competencies in our class? I'm just giving you some thoughts, food for thoughts. So hopefully you can take them and apply them. Hopefully you can find something useful that you can use in your classroom with your students, because you are the person that understands your context the most. You know the best what works and what doesn't work for your students. So please feel free to share in the chat as well. What do you think, and what maybe strategies and skills or techniques you have already used in your classroom? Because we are now introducing this framework. It doesn't mean that our teachers didn't do this before. A lot of teachers actually have been doing this unconsciously or without an awareness of making it into a framework. What we do here is just make it even clearer for teachers. So one thing I like to emphasize again is that life competencies are not the skills that we can teach. We can't just lecture students to say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Then by doing that, we are not demonstrating life competencies either, right? So what is important is that we create a safe and encouraging environment where they feel that they are willing to do those activities that involve life competencies. And also what we can do is to bring in more suitable tasks and topics in the class. Some resources I would like to share with you. The first principle is that in terms of the communication and collaboration skills, which are the foundation, we want to make it communicative. And so a lot of people feel like the making activities communicative is the goal. But if we just focus on making tasks communicative, then sometimes the task can lose their meaning. Just like the task that I asked Darren and Joe did just now. It sounds like communicative as it's an information gap task, but it's not that meaningful. So if we give that task to our students, they may not like to do it, So making the task meaningful is important, especially for teenagers at this stage. They find meaning, they need to find meaning in the things that they like to do. And so that's why the resources I include here are some resources that you can bring in your classroom. For example, we can make the topics more relevant to them, and to make the topics more meaningful. There are two websites I like to share with you. The first is Daily News for Students, and the second is CNN Student News. A lot of teachers told us that when they are planning lessons, they find it hard to find some materials with the language appropriate for the students. You know, it's easy to find news on the internet, but how to find the kind of material with appropriate content and language for students is a question. And those two are perfect platform for you to find those content. And what's difference between the two websites is that the first one is for finding some reading materials with appropriate topics, and the second is for finding videos. So usually it will be there will be a collection of videos on the website. Each video will last about 10 minutes, including a presenter presenting world news around the world, but in a fun way. And there are usually some quizzes for the students as well. And in terms of task format, how can we make it more interactive? We can introduce different task types, activity types. And one example I'm giving here is the snowball interviews. Some people may play snowball game before. So snowball means like the students pick a piece of paper, and they make it a snowball. But before they make it a snowball, they can include a question in it. You can design the question. So each of the students may have a different question related to the same topic. But what they need to do is that they need to bring this paper to with a question to ask different people, different students to get their ideas. So in that way, they are asking different questions and they are answering questions from other students. But by doing this, they are collecting information, and in the end, they need to kind of make a presentation about what they found about their question. And you can also, like if you are teaching at home, you can use some online interactive boards such as Padlet or ThinkLink. And for some content, TED Talk is a very good place to find content for your kids as well, especially after TED Talk like created a specific category for education for teachers and students, as you can see here. Once you visit this website, you can see different portals for students and educators and parents, and hopefully you can find the resources that your student will be interested in. And though a lot of resources are about social issues or life issues, that can bring meaningful conversation in your classroom. Okay, and this is an example of Padlet. It can offer you a lot of choices to interact with your students. You can set the word of the day. For example, here, to take an example here, then students can use these words to make a sentence about themselves. At the same time, they can see other people's sharing. You can also use it as you can give students a task of introducing one hobby they have, or a hometown, or any topic you like to introduce, and ask them to make a multimedia presentation here. So they can also leave comments for each other. And this is a very good way to do peer review and collaboration as well. Okay, and the second principle I like to introduce is scaffolding. Scaffolding, when we introduce tasks, especially those ones that students didn't do before, or when we introduce some topics that students are not familiar with, such as social issues, it's important for them to feel safe to be able to do it. So that's why scaffolding is very important. I have listed some of the examples of how we can scaffold our students, no matter by using some, illustrations, videos, or films, or in terms of how you organize your activity in the class. It could be pair work or small groups. One technique I always find useful, no matter in training or teaching, is pair to share. When do you use this technique is before you ask for a group feedback. Usually in the group feedback, we ask one or two people, a few people to do like 1 or 2 minutes sharing. That could be intimidating for students at this age. Before you ask them to do the group feedback, what I usually do is that I ask them to share what they think with their pair, in a pair, so with their classmates or group mates. And by doing this, there are two advantages. The first one is that they are able to organize to have the time to organize the language, so they feel more confident. The second is that by sharing the ideas, they get a confirmation feedback from their peer. So that's why they will feel more confident in giving the feedback, when giving the group feedback. Okay. And another way to give scaffolding is to give them language scaffolding. And here I'm taking this A2P speaking task as an example. When students don't know how to describe their preferences in hobbies, you can give them a guided structure and give them some scaffolding language. It could be, on a piece of paper or on the blackboard when after you ask them to brainstorm those languages. And so by following this, usually they feel more confident doing the task, but also they will be able to give more output in their communication task as well. Okay, the third part is to raise awareness. There are a lot of skills and strategies involved in life competencies that people may not be aware, even for adults. So it is important to first raise their awareness of those strategies and life competencies before we ask them to demonstrate them in the tasks. To take turn taking as an example, a lot of people don't know the name of the term of turn taking. How would they realize that's what they do in the conversation? So you can kind of include this kind of small part in your activity before they do the activity. This could be in the preparation part to first raise their awareness, and then later they can focus on developing those life competencies on purpose. Usually this can help achieve better results in the end as well. Those are some, turn-taking strategies we usually use in the classroom. One resource I'd like to introduce here about social responsibility is this link. You can visit this website and open this PDF to find books about social issues at different stages, as you can see here, from early learning even to teachers. So you don't need to worry that the social issues or social justice could be too complicated for my students. There are always tailored materials for you there, but we need to find the right place to find them. Okay, and one last thing I'd like to share is how we can raise emotional awareness. We usually feel like we have a good understanding of what our emotions are and how we feel, but actually it's like an iceberg. Usually what we understand is just about the iceberg. And so by introducing those emotional words, deliberately in our class, we can help our students to be more aware of their emotions. And based on psychology, if you are more aware of your emotion, if you are able to understand your emotion more granularly, then you will chances are better you are able to regulate them and to be able to be happy as well. So that's what we call by naming it, we tame it. Okay, so if you are interested in more resources we have, feel free to visit our website to find those lesson plans. And I'd like to emphasize in the end that just with this talk, what one concept we'd like to share with you is that learning a language is only about knocking at the door. It helps our students not only learn the language skill, but also open a new world for them to explore themselves and also the world. So, we are the students, you are the teachers, you are students' best role model. A lot of students learn from you. So start with ourselves and think about which life competencies we can demonstrate in our class. And if you like to follow up with us and get updated, please feel free to follow us online or Facebook. And also, you can, if you are based in Hong Kong or Macau, please feel free to approach Darren, our Senior BD Manager. And thank you so much. This is the end of the session. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the question section after Phil. And the next session will be about Felix session, our colleague from CUT. And at the end of our whole session, we will answer your questions. Okay, so
Iris, can you go back to the previous slide first?
Okay, sure. And I'll give the stage back to you, Joan.
Yeah, so if you don't have our line group, please, this is the QR code, please scan that. And this is our Facebook. Again, the line group is where we maintain it in Taiwan. So we will, for the PDF, the PPTs, we're gonna put the link there. And as mentioned, we will also send these information to our colleagues. We have colleagues from Hong Kong and also from Japan, Masa here. So we will be giving out these information in the coming this week or latest by next week. And I'm sure Phyllis will show her email later also. I don't see any other questions. I tried to answer one of them earlier. I hope that gives you the right information you're looking for. If you have any other questions, please, again, put it in the Q&A box. We will answer them at the end also, since we don't see any right now. Then let's give the time to Phyllis, our Senior Account Manager from CUP.
Thank you all. Yeah, let's welcome Phyllis.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, Joe and Iris. Hi there, everyone. Good afternoon. For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Phyllis, and I'm from Cambridge University Press Hong Kong office. I'm going to show you the learning resources for teaching life competencies and preparation for A2 Key B1 preliminary exams for the next 20 minutes or so. Yeah. So Iris talked about what life competencies mean and how we can integrate into the classroom with lots of brilliant ideas. How about materials? Okay, don't worry. We are mapping our courses to this framework, so all the hard work is already done for you. Let me just explain how this is done now.
Phyllis, would you like, okay.
That's right. Sorry. Our dedicated language research team has created the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework in response to educators who asked for a way to understand how life skills can be integrated into English language program. Our framework supports learners at all stages of their learning journey, from pre-primary through to the adults in education and at work. It maps out how learners' behavior typically found within each competency can change and develop as the learners encounters new situations and circumstances in their life, both within and beyond the classroom. Here you can see the top level of the framework. It consists of the 6 key competencies that Iris has just talked about in details: critical thinking, creative thinking, social responsibilities, communication, collaborations, and learning to learn. It's also underpinned by 3 foundation layers: emotional development, digital literacy, discipline knowledge. Development of these skills in these foundation layers underpins all other competencies. So as you deep dive into the framework, and the research has gone into it, you'll find each board competency is broken down into core areas and then into components that, along with the example can-do statements, describes the observable behavior that learners are likely to be able to demonstrate by the end of the stage of learning if they have the opportunity to develop these areas. So as you can see, by clearly defining these core areas of development, we can ensure that our teaching and learning materials take a comprehensive approach to delivering and developing these skills in our learners as they progress. The language research team are working with our publishing teams to map Cambridge ELT materials to the framework. so that teachers can ensure that our resources bring out the best in the learners. So if you're interested to find out more details about the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework, you'll find this website useful. Please go to visit them when you have time. We have very nice set of booklets from there you can download from. These booklets are to help teachers to start incorporating competency enhancing activities into the classrooms and know what behaviors to look for to ensure the learners are developing these valuable skills. There are also 3 new booklets which group together all the relevant information for a particular stage of learning: the young learners, the teenage learners, and the adult learners. Right then, so let's move on to materials now. So Power Up, Level Up is one of the first generation course to integrate the Cambridge Life Competencies framework. Each unit of the course is mapped to a component within the framework to ensure a wide range of skills are covered, such as the social skills, the thinking skills, the learning skills. Power Up and Level Up are essentially, they are the same course, but different in their appearance, messagings, and content. Power Up is the name given to the British English version, and the Level Up is the name given to the American English version. Let me go through their common features with you first. So they have the same overall theme as Kissbox, which is, I think many of you have already come across with. It's a fast-paced primary course, so it covers from pre-A1 to B1 levels in just 6 levels of the books. It's got fun and engaging activities, and they are based on real-world skills and situations. There are 3 common features that I want to go into further details with you. These are the student-centered learning, literature lessons, and cross-curriculum learning. Okay, so in Power Up and Level Up, we have put the children at the center of their learning journey. The course is designed around the principle of learner-oriented assessment in a primary classroom environment. In what we call student-centered learning in Power Up, or mindset of continuous improvement for Level Up, the approach moves the focus from the teachers to the students by encouraging them to develop learners' autonomy. This is the learning to learn competencies we've been talking about, and the independence by helping them to develop skills that enable them to lifelong learning and independent problem solving. You will find in the course, each unit is structured around a mission, as you can see in the top left box, which helps learners to set objectives at the beginning and understand their end goals and learning outcomes. Outcomes are then clearly stated at the beginning of the lesson so the learners can understand and think about them. So in this slides, you'll see the examples of we're trying to organize a picnic as an end goal, yeah. So these are then broken down into multiple stages. So the first stage, we ask the student to think about, to find out what the food your friends will like, maybe to ask around what kind of foods. And then the second stage, to prepare the food, to buy it, and then to make it as a first stage and share the recipes. And finally, the picnic itself. Okay, throughout the unit, the students worked at times individually, sometimes collaboratively to complete stages of the missions. And finally, the missions in actions, as you can see on the top, bottom left, there's a whole page. You have to talk about the picnic that you are organizing. This scaffolded approach to a collaborative task gives the student lots of opportunity to use what they have learned and to personalize their learning journey. The Life Competencies framework also features into literature spread you'll find there, where learners are building on emotional skills and social responsibility. Each stories hold a message that learners can identify and explore, making it relevant to their own context. They learn about emotions, empathies, and how to respond to others appropriately through identifying with the characters in the stories. The course curricular sections also develop life competencies through critical thinking and wider world knowledge. By course curricula, we mean teaching a non-language subjects through the media of a second language or foreign language. It suggests a balance between the content and the language learning. The content may include natural science, social science, arts and crafts, etc. Let's take a look at two examples of the activities found in the Power Up and Level Up, how different competencies are incorporated in the course. So these examples are drawn from the level 4 from Power Up and Level Up, which is the level towards flyers around A2 level. On the left, you can see an example activities to practice the learning to learn competency. Students develop skills and strategies for learning by first following an instruction in direct activities, as you see in exercise 4 and 5. This is then followed by making musical instruments in exercise 6. And then you have to write a quiz based on their own research. This is in the mission box. They are to take initiative and control of their own learning. Okay, on your right-hand side, this is an activities for emotional development. This is a story about two little boys and a snowman friend. Thomas, the little brother, is upset after finding out his snowman friend has gone. His elder brother, Valentine, is sorry for his behavior and promised him to make lots of snowmen with his little brother again. Here, the student learned about emotions by identifying characters' feelings. Through role-play activities, they are asked to practice expressing emotions, showing empathy, and consoling others. I hope you like the common features of Power Up and Level Up. Now let's take a look at the difference between two of them. Power Up is the British English version of the series. It follows the young learners pre-A1 starters, A1's movers, A2 flyers, A2 key, and B1 preliminary for exam syllabus with integrated exam practices throughout the course. And it covers 5 exams in just 6 levels. It is also a shorter course than Level Up. In Power Up, exam techniques, exam vocabulary, grammar are introduced and recycled throughout the student book. The student don't even notice it is an exam practice. The activity book mirrors this with fuller exam techniques activities, this time exposing the students to the official format of the exam. Again, familiarity means the children automatically know what to do when they see an activity like this. This integrated and fully scaffolded approach train the learners. They can adapt their learning and think actively about the task at hand. It gives teachers a clear message of the progress, and it gives them both teachers and learners confidence as they achieve these higher levels. So on to Level Up. Level Up is the American English version of Power Up. The main difference is that we have taken away the exam focus of this from the course. However, it doesn't make Level Up a short course, but instead a longer course because we have added more contents to it. We have taken away the end of unit exam practice, but we place it with skills practice in the student book and also extra contents on one review unit in the student book and activity book, and 2 extra pages of grammar practice, 1 extra page of process writing, and 1 extra page of phonics in every unit. So here you can see an example page of grammar practice session here, and process writing in the middle and the phonics on the right-hand side. In terms of components, we offer the same package for Level Up and Power Up. So you get, for the students, student books, activity books with online resources and home booklet. For the teachers, you get an interleave design book, teacher's resource book, test generators, presentation plus, flashcards, posters. Now let's move on to the other exam practice materials. The video will give you a glimpse of all the official materials suitable for A2 Key and B1 preliminary exams. Show you this.
Combine the knowledge of those who create the exams with the expertise of people who produce learning materials, and you get a powerful range of exam preparation materials. Our aim is to deliver the materials you need for the revised Cambridge English qualifications in 2020. These teaching materials are created working with teaching experts like you and using our expertise in test development and candidate performance. The result is a unique exam journey for each course. Take the redesigned Prepare. There's lots of exciting material for teachers and students. The new Life Skills section helps to develop life competencies, from collaboration to decision-making to resilience. For Complete, we've reimagined the content, design, and updated all the exam questions. There are more photos, more exam tips, and a grammar reference section. Compact, with its popular intensive approach, has new grammar references with targeted practice, plus a phrasal verb builder. It now includes additional writing and speaking support material. And for 2019, there's the brand new Open World, the course that genuinely takes you further, exploring real-world communication and redefining exams preparation. Open World will expand your horizons. Expertise to design the most user-friendly courses, practice tests, and supplementary training. Together, we are experts.
So here's the summary.
So it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Nick Peachy. Nick is Director of Pedagogy at Peachy Publications.
Sorry about this. So here is a summary of what we have to offer for the exam preparation materials. And a quick fact sheet on the courses. Please don't try to read it now. Just email me after the webinar, so I will send you the slides. Yeah. So in short, Power Up and Prepare are general English courses with exam preparations. Open World offers a mixture of language development and exam preparation, and it is suitable for older or more capable students. Complete is an exam-focused course that covers everything. Compact and exam boosters are organized by skills and usually used in intensive exam training courses. Let's take a very quick look at each one of them. Prepare is a popular choice for day school as a general English course. The most appealing features is the teacher's resource pack. Apart from the course, the class audio videos that you'll find also a lot of photocopiable worksheets on literature, reading, writing, listening, speaking skills, vocabulary and grammar practices for every unit at 2 different levels. You'll also find 2 exam practice tests at level 3, 5, and 7. This is what you can, on the left, you can see an example of the life skills session from Prepare. This is related to the unit topic, as you can see on the right-hand side about sports. Open World is a brand new course introduced last year. This replaced the objective series we have now. We have exam folders in the objective series. Here we also have the exam focus sessions in the Open World series. I want to highlight 3 features of the Open World to you: the real world session, the push yourself sessions, and the grammar on the move. On your left, there is the push yourself session. This session allows students to practice language at the next CFR level up. You'll find this session in every unit. Next, you'll find the grammar on the move session. There's 2 per unit. Students can watch the animations at home before or after the class on their mobile device via the QR code, or during the class with you. Let's watch these ones together.
Grammar on the move. So, such, to, and enough.
Hi, how do you prefer to travel when you go on holiday?
I prefer to travel by plane. It's such a quick and easy way to travel. I like arriving early at the airport so that I have enough time to go shopping.
I don't like flying. Plane tickets are so expensive and you have to arrive at the airport such a long time before your plane leaves.
I prefer travelling by train. Driving takes too long. I like reading my book and looking out of the window. Oh, it's so relaxing.
Now look at these sentences. Plane tickets are so expensive. It's so relaxing. So means very. We use so before an adjective or adverb without a noun. It's such a quick and easy way to travel. You have to arrive at the airport such a long time before your plane leaves. Such also means very. We use such before an adjective with a noun. Driving takes too long.
You get the idea, so I'll stop playing here. Okay, next I'm going to show you is the real world session. Each real world session is a double page in length. Students will read an article about different parts of the world and followed by some activities, and as you can see on the right hand side. This article ends with a link to life competencies in this corner. This is an example of creative thinking activity. The session itself also includes a video to watch, also accessible by a QR code. Here is some more pages of the open world. Okay, the complete series has always been a popular choice. It offers a complete approach to the language and skills development, and also with exam training. It is similar to the older editions, except we have added the writing and speaking bank and a Facebook web builder at the back, and the teacher's resource pack offering more photocopyable worksheets on each of the 4 skills at 2 different levels. For Compact, we have kept most of the features from the older Compact series, but also added in the writing and speaking bank and the Facebook web builders and the teacher's resource pack with the photocopyable worksheets of the 4 skills. Exam boosters. This is highly recommended as a supplementary to other courses, or if you only have a very limited of time and needs a lot more practices on the question types. This is what you're after. This is what it looks like. It contains 48 exam tasks, practices each part of the exam 3 times. Practice tests. I'm sure you are all quite familiar with all of them if you're already preparing your students for the exams. Trainers, there are also practice tests. Each printed copy contains 6 complete tests, with the first 2 tests fully guided. This means you will find exam tip boxes or expert tips guidance beside each questions. This is very handy for the teachers and also students who have just started tackling the test papers. Surely they will appreciate some extra help. Right, I think that's it. If you are new to the A2 Key and B1 preliminary exams, you should go and visit this website. You'll find useful information about the exam and also resources like Teacher's Handbook, word lists, sample papers, teaching tips, speaking video tests here. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, or you can get in touch with me or Kenneth, who's responsible for the Taiwan market, if you have questions afterwards. Thank you very much.